Who does she think she is? A romance author? She's a mother. A podcast? Seriously? Another book? What episode are we even on? Here's what you really need to know. Stephanie doesn't just write stories. She invites others to tell theirs. They say everybody has a past. She thinks everyone has a story. And she wants to hear them all. This is Storytelling with Stephanie.
Today's guest is someone whose writing and presence has really stayed with me throughout the years. I found her when I was on my own healing journey looking for answers, and her voice was so unique and it brought me a lot of solace when I was in a vulnerable state. Karli Karandos is a writer and creator with a voice that feels honest and curious and so deeply her own. Earlier in her career, she worked in the entertainment world, Hollywood, and you could feel that her experience really did shape the way she thinks and the perspective she brings into her work. Karli writes a Substack called Will This Hurt?, which I love because it doesn't rush towards answers. It makes space for questions, the ones that eventually lead us to the truths that we already might know, but we don't want to necessarily admit. On Instagram, she's also shared her wellness journey in a way that feels raw and real and vulnerable because healing isn't linear. She's currently working on her first book, a memoir titled Mother Luck. What I appreciate most about Karli is her ability to reflect on experiences that are often difficult to explain, and she somehow puts them into a language that feels both grounded and generous and gives us clarity. Today, we're just two Greek girlies chatting about creative evolution, growth, and the messy, non-linear side of healing. Welcome back to Storytelling with Stephanie. I'm joined today by Karli.
Hello. Thanks for having me on, Stephanie.
Thank you for coming on. Welcome. Can you give the storytellers a little backstory?
Yeah, of course. So, like you said, my name is Karli. I am a writer. I'm based in Austin, Texas. I've pretty much been writing my whole life. And was always drawn to storytelling, so really excited to be on this podcast. But I grew up, loving movies and that method of storytelling. Went on to study film in college and work in Hollywood for about 4 years, casting movies and television series. And then as that industry continues to take hit after hit, I decided to pivot my career and have been working as a professional copywriter for mostly e-commerce retail brands as part of their marketing and creative teams. So that is now what I do on my 9-to-5. And then I'm also a poet and essayist. So I write a lot of personal essays and poetry.
I love it. I'm such a fan of your writing, and like we were talking about before we pressed record, you have such a raw and real voice that really sets you apart. And I started following you years ago when you were on a wellness journey, and I was on my own wellness journey as well, getting in that rabbit hole of wellness hacks and stuff like that. And I looked to you for solace a lot of the times because you had such an eloquent way of describing what was going on in my head. And, while struggling, when you're chronically ill, sometimes it goes hand in hand that you struggle with mental health. And I feel like you represented that so well. I remember a post specifically that people in your life were judging you. And you wrote this really poignant story / essay, and it still stuck with me because I don't think people understand when you're not feeling 100% how out of body it is.
Thank you for saying that. I've really always embraced the raw, relatable side of storytelling, and I try my best to just remain authentic because I honestly feel like that's really rare today. There's just so much noise and so many, artists, content creators, there's just so much out there that I feel like it's really hard now to, get your voice heard. But I think authenticity is really rare, and, you have a better chance at cutting through some of that noise if you just kind of stay true to yourself and write about the things that are real and kind of stripped down. So thank you for saying that. And yeah, my healing journey, I mean, a lot of the themes that I write about, have written about, and still write about, I draw upon that, that journey for. But I think I just find so much inspiration in like kind of like the hardship and trials and pain of life. I think that that's where a lot of the best art comes from. And so, yeah, I try to lean into that without like getting too self-masochistic and like, torturing myself. But I really think that that's like, if you can take the hard things that have happened to you and create something beautiful from it and create art from it and like write something that's going to resonate with others and help people, that's like, that's kind of what I'm all about.
That's exactly what I'm about. It's so funny you say that because literally my whole brand is alchemizing your pain into art. And that's what I'm really,
Perfect word. Yeah.
That's exactly what I've done. I went through, like we spoke about earlier, I went through a hardship with postpartum. My marriage was falling apart, and I, took that pain, and I had a vision for my first book, and I wrote my first book in the dark on my phone in my notes app, and like, for years I'd wanted to start writing and write a book, and I did it during the craziest, when you don't have time. And I think that that's just a testament to how sometimes art just needs to come out. It needs, like, you need to channel that energy into some way. And I did that. And my whole first book, the themes are real and pretend. It's called Pretend for me. So while it's a romance novel, I draw upon the themes of real and pretend and the Velveteen Rabbit, that tangible, like, if like realism is like what is real, what is like pretend, and like even even finding that like love in the shabbiness. So I love that you said that because it's like a representation of exactly what goes on in my mind.
Yeah. So much writing for me too happens in the notes app. I love that you said that. But yeah, I mean, and in all honesty, like people don't want to read a story that's a constant high. We like to be entertained. We like to, we want peaks and valleys. And I think that I'm just always so grateful to God for giving me just like a life with like rich experience, because I have a lot to draw on now. And it sounds like for you, I think, even though you write fiction, you've infused a lot of your real life experiences into it. And I, write more nonfiction. I haven't dove into fiction yet, but like, it's all me. It's me on the page. It's my lived experiences. And like, I would have nothing to write about had I not been through these crazy, painful things, so you just have to like embrace it.
Absolutely. And I think, even though it's nonfiction or fiction, I think the line is the authenticity. And that's the thing that melds them together, is being real, because people can tell when things aren't authentic.
Totally. I think, in our conversation before, you mentioned like vibration and energy, and like I'm very in tune to that as well and sensitive to that as well. And I think that authenticity, I've even read and heard this, I'm pretty sure, but like authenticity is like the highest vibration. And so you really can feel it and sense it. And similarly, like I can tell when someone's like trying too hard, reaching, or even like creating something for, reasons other than, for reasons that aren't coming from like a pure place, I guess. If you have like another ulterior motive for creating your art, or you're coming from a place of like ego, things like that, I think I can pick up on that. So I totally hear what you're saying.
Yeah, I think it's a lot having to do with like ego death too, because I feel like, from following you, like, I don't want to speak for you, but I feel like throughout the years, especially with chronic illness, you almost have to have an ego death in order to like reach your new self.
I had multiple ego deaths.
Yes. Have you did your Saturn return yet? Have you had your Saturn return?
No, I don't believe so. I am interested in astrology, but I'm also still learning about it. So
How old are you?
I'm 33.
So you had your Saturn return.
Oh, what is okay? I don't know what
Saturn.
a return is.
Oh, okay. So, I'm sorry. For anybody who doesn't know, a Saturn return is every 27 to 31 years. Your birth chart goes back to the place where you had Saturn at birth, and Saturn is the planet of hardship, and I don't want to say hardship, but like it's planet of consequences. It's ruled by yeah, I'd say it's the consequences and like hardship. And so it makes sense, everything that you've went through the last few years. And I'd be curious to see what house it was in, because for the listeners who don't know, Karli had a mold journey and a wellness journey, and she was, going through some things throughout the years, and that's how I originally followed her. And I took such a liking to her writing, and I'd be curious to see if it's in the the home sector because of everything, or the health sector because of everything that you went through during that time period.
Yeah, so I actually booked my first session with a real astrologist to like look at my birth chart and everything, and we're also doing is it constellation? Or, like,
Mapping, yeah.
So I'm doing that later in May, so I will ask her about that and get back to you. But,
Yes, please do. I'm so interested in it. I'm like a
Yeah.
baby astrologer. I want to go into it a little bit because I really do like it. And I'm sorry for anybody who's not interested listening, but I'm just very into it.
I am too. I mean, it's very real. It's very real. It's like eerily accurate sometimes. And I'm also very strong in my faith and have a really strong relationship with God, and choose to follow Jesus. And so I know that sometimes like people in my church also like they think that those two things can't coexist, or that like, astrology and Christianity are kind of going against each other, which that's a conversation for like another time. But I just like to think that like, astrology is a way of looking at the universe that God created. And of course he created it with like such intelligence and intention. Like, why would there not be meaning behind the stars and the way that the planets move and transit?
Absolutely.
So like of course there's meaning behind everything that God created. So I'm definitely very interested in it. I put more of my faith in the creator than the creation, but it really is fascinating. I'm excited to learn more about it.
I think that like women, we have cycles that are synced up to the moon. So
Exactly.
it's like it can't not be.
There's
Yeah.
a full moon as we are recording this.
Oh,
Actually.
I know. Yes, the Libra full moon.
It's so real. Like I feel different around the full moon. So, and even a new moon as well. So,
Yes.
yeah.
For sure. And then when Mercury is retrograde, you feel a certain way. And like my computer literally, and it's, a thing that like your electronics go haywire when there's a Mercury retrograde. My computer literally broke. And this isn't the first time during a Mercury retrograde where a computer, a phone, a device has broken during like this time. And I'm like, Mercury, get your stuff together.
I believe it. I had some things happen this past one too, and it was such a long period of time. And like I had
Yes.
appointments that got messed up, packages that got lost, like things that got delayed. So
It's like
it's
you
very
can't,
real.
and you can't like not see it once you see it. It's
Right.
like what we were talking about before we started, that once you like lift that veil, you can't unsee it. And whether it's the wellness world that like, that can be toxic,
Yeah, the blindfolds
it's
come off.
lifted. Yeah,
Yeah.
the blind, and then you realize how much control that you have. And I think that like taking back your power is like such a, and as long as you use, like you said before, as long as you use that and do for good rather than like bad, what's not to like, be interested in it.
Yeah, totally. But yeah, I mean, there have been many ego deaths in recent years, and yeah, it wasn't just a health journey for me. Like it really was everything, kind of all at once too. Like it was, switching careers from Hollywood, which it felt like my whole life was leading to, and that was my dream. And then pivoting away from that and starting over, and I was engaged to someone as well, and that relationship, fell apart. And I think I moved 3 different states on my own in 1 year,
Wow.
literally from it was Los Angeles to Miami with my then fiance, and then I moved from Miami to Phoenix to Austin, where I am now, by myself in 1 year. I did those moves. Um, and then I got to Austin and, finally got my own place, my first place on my own. And really started to like rebuild my life and finally had the stability to just kind of like as the fog started to lift, just kind of like reflect on like what just happened. Like that was all so intense. Like what was that, and why did I have to go through that? And then you start doing, the real healing work, which is like the inner work and the generational trauma and the mindset and the nervous system regulation and, blocked emotions and all of that. So that's where I am now. But yeah, it's a journey, and the journey never ends. I mean, especially as someone who's passionate about personal growth and self-improvement, like there's no resting point, like there's no
I
destination, like
agree.
this is ongoing. So but I think now I'm in a place where it doesn't consume me. It's not like my full-time job to heal and better myself. And there's also been a release of control where it's like I'm okay. Like there are some things that maybe I'll never quote unquote heal from, or kind of like shadow work, which is like this is just the way that I am, and I'm gonna embrace it, and instead of put pressure on myself to like be better or fix it or like heal from this or detox, like I've eased up a lot and just kind of accepted some things. So
Oh my goodness, you said so many good things there that I want to touch upon. But let's start with Hollywood. What took you to
yeah.
Hollywood, and can you give us like some behind the scenes there?
Okay, well, yeah, I mean, similarly to yourself, like just such a love for storytelling ever since I was a little girl in all of its forms, like movies, plays, books, other people, music. But film really was my first love, and I was like raised on movies, and I just always loved the movies. Always, always. I like kind of always knew that was going to be my thing. Um, and I studied film in college, got a film degree, graduated, moved abroad for a few years to travel. And then when I got back, I was like, okay, I'm gonna finally, uh, you know, head out to Hollywood and pursue that dream. And it was really just crazy, like how I got right in and got my foot in the door. It all happened really fast. I was there for about 4 years. I initially thought I wanted to do screenwriting because writing and storytelling. But when I got out there, I quickly discovered casting, which I just completely fell in love with because it combined my love of screenwriting and the actual script, and then the actors that bring those words to life. So you're as a casting professional, you're like one of the first people that gets the script. You're like the first stage in the filmmaking process, working with the director. So it's like really reading the script, breaking down the characters, and then finding the right actors to bring that to life. And I just completely fell in love with it. And I had, I always say that it was the best of times and the worst of times because I was truly living my dream. Like I was working for, some of the top casting directors in the industry, working on really big budget movies, television shows that have been on for like 20 plus years, like driving onto the Paramount Studios lot every day, meeting some of my heroes. It's very exciting, but as I'm not the only one to say this, it's not as glamorous as you think it's going to be. Like, it is, but then it comes with such a cost. And like, there's a certain energy in Hollywood and with the people that work in that industry, and I just like, I have kind of like a love-hate relationship with it, because it was really exciting, but I was so passionate about it, but it was also extremely stressful and toxic and abusive, and there was no work-life balance, there were no boundaries, and I think had I not started to feel physically sick from it, I would have gotten really sucked into that life, and maybe would have, like, I don't know, like just lost my soul in it, as a lot of people do, because it is so like alluring. But for me, I just, I didn't do any creative writing like my whole time in Hollywood. Like, I just didn't have any of the energy for it, and I unfortunately had some just like bad experiences with other, professionals in the industry, and it just got harder and harder to like justify staying in it. It was just really like, at what cost?
At
Like,
what cost, right?
yes, I'm working on this movie that's amazing and it's going to be huge, but like, I like didn't even eat today. I'm not sleeping. Like, I have no personal life. Like, I feel so sick from the stress. I'm, living in LA, and I have no money, and like, I can't afford to live here, and things in that city are crazy. And so the industry is just so absurd that it kind of gets to a point where you're like, I don't know, like, is it worth it? And I had been working in it for about 2 years when COVID happened, and then the whole industry shut down. And, since then there's been like writers' strikes and actors' strikes, and then there's like the fires in LA, and it just continues to get hit and hit and hit. And I'm like, I can't do this anymore. Like, I love you, but I can't do this anymore. So
You wouldn't ever go back?
I've thought about it, and I never say never, because I really love it, and I still keep up with all of it. Like, I'm always watching, what's current, new movies, new TV shows, and I'm so passionate about it. But yeah, maybe I would, and I would go back as my new self, and I would do it differently with better boundaries, and just not get so thrown by the chaos of it all. Maybe I'd have a better experience.
Because it is alluring, and it's shiny, and it's easy to get lost in that, because they're offering you such great things, and then you almost have to like chip away pieces of yourself, because you're okay, oh well, I want to please, and it goes back to that people pleasing thing, and you want to this is a big deal, so I'm not going to eat lunch, I'm going to skip lunch because I want to do this, or whatever it is. You do end up in those positions, because I was in fashion years ago, and I did some internships, and I could see the allure, but then I also seen the work-life balance, and there really isn't, and there's a cost there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a bit self-sacrificial, and it's interesting because I feel like a lot of the industries I've gravitated towards, or just the working relationships I've found myself in, so closely mirrored a lot of my like romantic relationships. And I've since come to realize that love and money are really interconnected. And if you are somebody who has codependency or people-pleasing tendencies, you may find yourself in those types of environments and relationships, whether they be romantic or professional, where you are, feeling like you have to prove yourself, like you're not good enough. Like, that was very much the energy in Hollywood, because those jobs are so sought after, that it was like, if you're not going to do this and you're not going to put up with this, then like somebody else will, very easily. So you're replaceable. So either you're going to put up with it and you're going to work the crazy hours and just, you're going to endure, or like you're not, and that's fine, and we'll find someone else. So that was kind of the inner battle all the time, where it was like, how bad do I want this, and like how much am I willing to lose for it?
It's similar in fashion, so I'm like nodding along to what you're saying because I experienced a very similar experience to what you're saying, and I didn't want it bad enough. That's what I realized ultimately.
Okay, like that's
Yeah,
not a sign of failure. Like I didn't want it bad enough either. Like it was beginning to um kind of ruin the love I had for film in the first place.
exactly. My for fashion too. I didn't even pick up a fashion magazine for years after interning. Like during college, I just had no desire to do that, and
It's traumatic.
I was deterred from it honestly because The Devil Wears Prada is a very good indication of what goes on. It's
So,
milder, but it's very the themes and the undertones are completely true,
yep.
and it's cutthroat, and I don't think I'm that cutthroat as much as I want to believe that I'm so tough and like I can withhold myself in those industries. I don't think I could for a long. It's not sustainable, and I think often again back to authenticity. I think the authenticity wins in that one where I kind of am a little softer, and then I went into teaching preschool, and so I feel like a complete juxtaposition from
Yeah.
fashion to preschool. Paint on all of your clothes as opposed to like pressing your dresses every day with the steamer.
Yeah, I've had a few bosses that were like the Devil Wears Prada level, and I have heard that film and fashion are very similar. So I'm sure you get it and you understand. And as you said, yeah, it's not sustainable.
I'm sorry to cut you off. You would you say that working on the scripts helped you like build your writing and your writing style and how you like construct stories? I'm so curious.
No, to be honest, I haven't done much screenwriting since college. In casting, I was reading, other people's scripts and the characters that other people had written. But I didn't do any screenwriting myself. That's something like, you asked, would I ever go back to film? And I would love to write a script one day and just see what I can make happen with that. But my personal writing style, I wouldn't say that it had any influence on it. It's really just been something that I've kind of had and held on to from a very young age.
I love that. So it's just it's your moral, and it's just inside of you. I was just curious because I love researching different writing techniques. So I wanted to know if like you have, any, secrets. What is on your desk when you write? Do you have like rituals? I'm asking a lot of authors this because I find it so fascinating how different people navigate writing. Some people write in complete silence. Some people write with music on. Some people, write in the dark. So do you have like one of those little, things that you do?
Yeah, I love this question. Well, for starters, I very rarely write from a desk. I am a couch writer. I like to be cozy when I write, and I generally write in the evening. But I get a lot of ideas in the morning or when I'm like in motion. So like going on long walks, I'll get a lot of writing ideas, or long drives with like really good music. I have certain writing playlists that I'll listen to, and that notes app comes in handy because I'll just write down the ideas in there, and then when I come back to like actually sitting down to write it, then I'll reference back to it. But I write in silence, but to get in the headspace, depending on what I'm writing, I'm like very dependent on music. I think that music is such a powerful tool, and yeah, as I said, I have like certain playlists for certain moods. Music is like also so nostalgic, so if you're trying to like revisit an old experience, old relationship, just old feelings, I think it's like just it's like I can't write without it, honestly. Like music is very much a part of my writing process. Um, but I have a very like clean, minimalist environment. I really can't write if there's like clutter around me. So,
I feel the same way. I love that.
yeah.
And I'm so similar with the notes app. I always say that if someone like confiscated my phone and went through my notes app, they would think I'm insane.
Yeah. Yeah,
Not be good. The life of a writer, right? And
I
you know,
know. So funny you said that. I know. For me, it's like it can be like just a word or it's like fragmented like sentences and like nobody would know what that means except for me.
right.
It's so funny. It's like deciphering code. But then when I look back on it, I'm like, oh yeah, I remember. And you have to write it down because I mean,
You
if you
lose
don't
it.
lose it, you lose it.
And it's
So
horrible when you lose it because I wake up sometimes in the middle of the night and I have like a notepad beside me, but then if like I don't know, I don't turn the light on quick enough, I lose it. And then I'm like, oh no, let me go back to sleep and see if I can go get it again.
that's so funny. I keep a notebook near my bed as well for that reason because I'll get a lot of ideas like right upon waking up, like almost when I'm still kind of in and out
Barely,
of
yes.
sleep. Um, so I'll do that as well, but yeah, you have to write it down or else you lose it, like we said. And
I think music is helpful though, because sometimes I have lost it and I'd be listening to a certain song on a walk. And like you said, in motion really helps. Like if I'm in motion, I'm able to figure out certain plot points in which I'm stuck at. Like I was stuck at this part in my current work in progress and I just couldn't figure it out for the life of me. I'm pacing my apartment, I'm doing all the things. And I'm like, you know what, let me just get outside. Went for a walk, figured it out. But then other times when I forget things and I remember, oh, okay, I was listening to this playlist, let me listen to it back and see if it rejogs my memory, and it does.
yeah, yeah, had similar experiences, and I also just think it's so cool to kind of have like these ideas where you don't really know where they come from. Like, I don't know, people have asked me before where I get my ideas, and it's like, or, a line that I came up with, like a really punchy, just like one liner, or, a turn of a phrase or something like that. And it's like, it really feels, I mean, for me, it feels very spiritual because it feels like you're getting a download from God or from the universe where it's like, I don't know where it came from. It just comes. And then yeah, it's up to you to like, take that and run with it and write it down so you don't forget.
That's like the perfect word, I feel like, because it comes in like the weirdest ways. My first book, the opening scene is them fighting, came to me during my son's nap time. I had him on my chest. My phone had just died, of course. And then I'm like reaching for a pen and paper, like trying to get to scribble it down before I forget. And like, it was crazy. And then my next book came to me from a song, mainly. And then my following book wasn't even supposed to be a book, and it's a spin-off of one of my characters from my first book, and it came to me in the shower. It's the funniest thing. I'm like in the shower, like with shampoo in my hair, and I'm like, I got this line in my head, and I'm like, Charlotte needs a book. And I'm like feverishly voice noting my editor, and I'm like, oh my God, I got this idea. Charlie needs a spin-off, and I'm telling her everything, and it's crazy.
Yeah, it's a download for sure. I mean, and I've heard all great artists say that or say something similar. Not putting myself in the same category as the great artists of the world, but like,
No, you should. You're making, anybody who makes art, I feel like, is an artist.
Well, thank you for saying that. I guess I just meant that whether you're writing a book or writing songs, like I've heard interviews with John Mayer where he's like, yeah, I was in the shower and like I had to get out and I'm like soapy and I'm like, I had to write it down, and like, yeah, you just get the download and you just got to write it down and then revisit it and see what it means later. You don't always like know where it's going, but yeah, it's a very cool experience and just gift to have been, given. I'm so grateful.
Do you have any advice for somebody who would be thinking about moving on their own? I feel like everybody should travel alone and even live alone at some point in their life. And would you have any advice for somebody who's about to take that plunge or maybe wants to?
Oh gosh, I've done it so many times. I mean, yeah, I've moved multiple states on my own, lived abroad, did a lot of traveling on my own, and I agree. I think every woman, especially, should have at least a few years to herself where she lives alone and just has her own space. I've found so much healing in Austin, finally having my own home, because before that it was like I was living with partners or roommates or family. So, and especially as a writer and a creative too, like you just need your space, you need your room to write in. Um, but in terms of advice and actually doing it, I mean, that's a great question. I just want to say, like, don't overthink it. Like, if it's been placed on your heart to go somewhere, know that you're capable and that, you know, life isn't so different, like, from place to place, is what I've found. And that's from living in other countries, living in other, all different cities, different, like, landscapes. It's just like, we're all human and we're all like doing the same things at the end of the day, and we all kind of want the same things, and like you'll go, no matter where you're being called to go, like if you get there, you'll find that like you'll make friends, you'll find your spots, you'll find your coffee shop, you'll find your church, like you'll find your doctor, like you'll just like be okay. And like even countries that I lived abroad in where I didn't even speak the language, it's like people are doing the same thing over there too. Like we're working, we're eating, we're dating, like it's not as daunting as you think it is. It's just life, and yeah, just don't overthink it.
The constant is you. That's you, and I think that that's such a theme though as well. You need to establish this strong relationship with yourself, because that's your longest relationship. I tell myself this all the time because I wasted so much time caring about other people and what are they going to think, and staying in relationships that didn't suit me, or just because out of comfortability, rather than just explore and really sit with myself. And that's so important, because the more you sit with yourself, the more you're okay with being alone. And it's powerful, because eventually we're all going to be, at some point in a crossroads, maybe where we need to or should be alone. And I think a lot of growth and healing comes from that. And it's our longest relationship.
It is. I love that you said that. I completely agree. I guess I would say as well, like if you are looking to move or travel as a way to like run away or escape something, I tried that and it didn't work. And because as you were kind of alluding to, like no matter where you go, there you are. And like you bring yourself wherever you go, you bring your baggage and your habits and whatever. So, I found a lot of healing and growth from travel, but at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter where you are.
Right.
If that makes sense.
No, complete. I mean, 100%. And would you say that the more you sat with yourself, is that when you found the most healing and like broke free from, some of the more toxic constraints that you put on yourself, healing wise, and regimen wise?
Yeah, well, I think I was addicted to stress and chaos because that was all I had known. And that's why I gravitated towards the most stressful industries and bosses. And that's why I, was constantly moving, because I did not know how to stay in one place. And I'm still learning that. Like, there's still a tug I have to like, maybe Austin isn't it. Maybe I should move again. Maybe I should try, hence the constellation with the astrology. I'm like, where should I go next? And it's like, okay.
Are you doing astrocartography? Is that what it is?
Sorry, I'm saying it wrong. Astrocartography, yeah.
No, well, there is constellation mapping, but then there's astrocartography, which tells you
Okay.
what lines coincide with your birth
Yes.
chart and where
Yes.
you should live and where you should move. And, there's
That's
one for
what I'm
love, and there's one for so many different, wherever you want to take you. You don't want to live on your Saturn line, though. That would be, what we call detriment in astrology. But I'll let you continue. I'm sorry.
That's okay. Thank you for correcting me. Yes, astrocartography, that's what I've been trying to say, and that's what part of what I'm doing later in May. But yeah, I think I have a hard time deciphering whether it's like a trauma response or if I am just a traveler at heart, because I do love it. It's where I've gotten a lot of my best writing material, and I've done some of my best work. But it's like, as you get older, it's just like, I don't know. It's just I'm getting I'm kind of like ready to hang my hat up, but I just don't really know where. And I think it's that feeling that I think a lot of people have in other aspects of life as well, where it's like there's so much option and choices now that it's hard to stay in one place or stay in one relationship or stay in one hobby or whatever, because you always have the possibility of something else, right? So I think that comes back to like not having firm boundaries though, because I think boundaries are very much just about like deciding and just staying firm in that decision.
Even during the discomfort and the doubts, because if you, like you said before, if it was placed on your heart, there probably is purpose there.
Yeah. Yes, and I felt very called to come to Austin, and I've experienced so much just like profound growth and positive change here. But as I said, there's like this voice in the back of my head still that's like, maybe you should like go here, go there, whatever. And I have to really like just, be firm with myself and be like, no, Karli, just stay, like because that's kind of a nervous system response too, where you can't sit still, you can't be in meditation, you can't, like, you just can't, you don't know how to stay. It's like training a dog, right? Like, just sit, just like be still. So I am having to do that with myself.
I relate to that so much. I struggle with sitting still for too long, and it's almost that you always want more, and you're taught, I feel like growing up, like we have to keep reaching for more and striving for better. And like we talked about before, that's great when it's for yourself and it's self-evolutionary. Like, you don't want to stay stagnant, and that energy always is moving, and healing isn't linear. But at the same time, what is a nervous system response trigger? What are we doing this out of? Are we doing it out of fear that we feel safe? Like, you finally feel safe in your spot, and then you want to like move, or you want to make a change. And then it also goes back to intuition, and because I struggle with this so much on my own, it's like, okay, well, if I'm having this thought, is it my intuition telling me that I should do this? Or is it like me trying to self-sabotage myself? And it's that and then it really, you have to really discern where that's coming from. And I struggle so much with that. So thank you for making me feel so seen. And I'm sure many do as well, because having discernment in your decisions is so difficult, and you have to almost take yourself out of the whole equation while being so connected.
Yeah. I relate to all that so much, because it really was like just when I got settled in Austin and like got my apartment decorated the exact way I wanted it, and I got my friend group, and I'm just like in the group, that those thoughts started, and that voice started to come in that like, maybe you should move again. And it's like, what? Like, I just got like what I wanted, and now I'm like thinking of, just stirring things up again. And I think in terms of discernment, what's helped me is just taking a moment to think about the energy behind like the thought or the action, and if it's like instilling any sort of like fear or anxiety, it's likely not from God or your intuition.
That really helps me, because I feel like that already just gave me so much peace. I anticipated what you were going to say, and I feel like that just gave me so much peace, because I worry about that all the time. I'm like, am I manifesting like the wrong thing here by worrying about this and being focused on a more fearful outcome, or what's like, what is this?
Yeah. Well, anything that has fear attached to it or behind it is just simply not good, like point blank. So, and I was so plagued by fear for so many years. I mean, fear was just my complete mindset.
Oh, me too.
So that made it super hard to tune into my own intuition.
You almost have analysis paralysis, which I had for so long, and I blamed so many different things. I was always blaming something for, not being able to make a decision. But at the end of the day, I think it was just me not being able to sit with myself.
Yeah. Yeah, I've had to just work through so much fear moving into my place in Austin, because I was like so afraid to repeat the past and like move into an environment that was potentially going to make me sick again. But
For anybody who doesn't know, Karli had dealt with mold, had very moldy environments, and to the point where she had hives. It was, very, very scary and bad.
Yes, thank you for bettering to put it into context. But to further put it into context, I got the most sick when I was working a really stressful job in Hollywood. And as I've come further out of that, it's never one thing. Like, I'm sure it was a combination of a moldy duplex in Los Angeles and, not eating right, not sleeping well. But ultimately, I think it was the stress and the nervous system dysregulation that really derailed me, because that is directly linked to your immune system. The human body was not created to withstand long-term stress. We were designed to experience short bursts of stress and then come down. And with like modern society, our nervous systems have like built this, I don't know, capacity, I guess, to just like endure stress all the time. But it's not really the way that our immune system and the rest of our body was designed. So personally, I think for me and my health and healing journey, like I said, it was never just one thing, but ultimately I often wonder, like, had I not been so stressed, perhaps I wouldn't have gotten as sick as I did from the mold, because I would have been able to, like better detox it or whatever, because my immune system would have been functioning better. Because like I remember growing up in my childhood homes or even in college, like I know that I had a lifetime of mold exposure, and it was not impacting me the way that it did during that time in Los Angeles. So something was different. So I had to like really examine that time in my life and be like, okay, what was different about it? Oh, I was under the most stress I've ever been in my entire life. So I just think stress and fear are like the most toxic and harmful things to your health. So anything that you're doing that's like creating more of that it's not helpful. It's not beneficial. It's not the right choice. It's not from God. It's not from your intuition. Like, it's not what you should be doing, in my opinion.
No, and you're 100% right, because I remember growing up, my childhood home was moldy. My dad, smoked in front of us, and you have such endurance, for certain things. And then it's just that one thing that tips you off. I had a job where the ceiling was leaking buckets, and you could only, literally leaking buckets of water every time it rained inside. It was raining inside. And I worked at this job for about 3 to 4 years, and I was fine. And for anybody who doesn't know, I have my own mold story, and which I'll explain now. But I then, postpartum, I don't know if I was just so depleted. We had a bad leak, and it was that one thing that tipped me off, and my health derailed tremendously. And I fell down a rabbit hole of going to different doctors, and then when doctors don't validate you in certain ways, you take it upon yourself and think, okay, I can fix myself. I'm going to do all these different cleanses and detoxes and meal plans. And I spent tens of thousands of dollars in the wellness space only to learn. And now I have to heal from that almost trauma, because the only thing I learned was that the only person who can heal you is you. And all of those things are just secondary, and yes, they could be helpful, but they can be harmful, and it's the dose that does make the poison.
Totally. It really does just lead you right back to yourself. It's such a painful, messed up journey.
It's cyclical.
Yeah, it's just, I can relate so much. I mean, we spoke about that before, but I'll just say it again. Like, I really got worse on my quest to get better, because I just became more stressed the more, test results I got back, diagnoses that were thrown at me. I became more fearful the more I learned, the more my, brain was rewired to interpret the environment as dangerous, and that this is toxic and this is harmful and this is dangerous. I just got sicker and sicker. Truly.
The non-toxic movement is toxic. Disclaimer.
100%. It's a cult, everybody. It's a cult.
My mom literally, I told this to Karli before we started airing, and my mom literally said to me, she's like, when I was into all this non-toxic BS, she was like, you're literally part of a cult. I'm going to have to I see myself having to have you escape, someone's going to take you in their trunk, and I'm going to have to go after them.
Moms always know. That's so funny she said that, but yeah, it is
multiple times.
so funny. And I mean, disclaimer, I'm not saying don't take care of yourself.
No, that's not what we're saying at all.
My health, I eat right, I have air purifiers, I drink, certain water and whatever. I do the foundational stuff, but it's just, it's a lot of the chronic illness community just kind of what am I trying to say? It's a lot
it can be opportunistic.
Yes, it's a lot of people, it's a lot of practitioners preying on sick people. I mean, you think you're doing the right thing by getting out of Western medicine, but it's really just the same, except they're pushing supplements instead of pharmaceuticals. But in terms of just the environment and the people in it, I mean, I found that it was a lot of just victim mentality. I think there are a lot of people in the chronic illness community that take on their illness as their identity and use it as an excuse almost to not take responsibility for their own lives and their own choices. And it's a lot of people that say they want to get better, but if you are stuck in a victim mindset, the chances of you actually healing are very slim, in my opinion.
No matter how many supplements you take.
Yes. And I mean, we talked earlier about ego death, and that was a huge part of mine because I was in that victim mindset at one point, hugely. And that was the hardest thing, honestly, and still is realizing I had created so much of my own suffering because I kept making certain choices, and you're not even conscious that you're making them, but there's no unseen hand doing it to you. I kept choosing to go back to these same doctors or getting these same relationships with these guys that made me feel like I'm not good enough, or getting in the industries that are so stressful and don't allow me to take care of myself. I chose all of that. So anyway, I'm losing my train of thought, but
No, but there's liberation there. There's liberation
Yeah,
in that power of taking accountability and taking responsibility for your actions that led you to the place that you are. And, but look at what you've done from it.
yeah. Thank you for saying that. I also think that it's just not conducive to healing to like sit around and talk about it all the time. So I've really taken actionable steps to just like remove myself from that community, and limit
Same.
those conversations because it was not doing me any good. Like the first thing, at like the start of my day, I'd get on Instagram and it'd just be post after post of like mold, Lyme, this is toxic, this is bad. And then I created a whole account around it and a whole brand.
That's how I
And
found you.
yeah, and it was like very much my life and identity. And I think I just got to a point where it was like, this is not what God wants for me. This is not my purpose. This is not supposed to be my life. Like talking about mold all day. Like what? Like how did I get
Your
here?
Instagram handle was mold, wasn't it
It
mold?
literally had the word mold in my handle, and I was just like, whoa, like what am I doing here? And it's just been such a crazy journey, but like, as you come back to yourself and start connecting with like your inner child again and coming back to things like writing and beauty and art, like things that like, oh, that's my purpose. Like those are the things that God created me for, like not this and all the darkness that comes with it.
Because it is dark.
It's so dark.
It's so dark, and you think that you're
It's
healing
totally
because they say healing journey. It's like it's repackaged in a different way, but it's so dark and like it's not healing. It's suffering,
No.
and you're caught, and it's suffering at your own hand, like you said, and then
Yeah,
your
it's
own,
like
and eventually your own money too.
it's totally glorified suffering, and there's also a lot of like, I don't know, like who's had it the hardest, like who has the
It's
most.
like almost competition.
Yeah, it's just it's not good vibes.
And then like you said, like people identify and themselves, and it's almost like they're like, to me, I think words are so powerful, not only because I'm a writer, but because of my spirituality. And I just think, and from an energy standpoint, casting those certain words, like identifying as a moldy, so much power in that, and it's almost casting like a spell on yourself, and and it's binding because
Yes.
and it goes back to that victim mentality, and it ties into that so perfectly that you stay looped in that almost until you break that cycle.
Is. Yeah. Yeah, I completely agree. I mean, yeah, words are so powerful. Obviously, I share that belief. And I think anytime you say, I am anything, like you are casting that upon yourself. And I had to really work hard at that to say, no, this isn't my like anxiety. It's like, I am experiencing anxiety. Okay. It's not mine. I'm not claiming it. And that goes for anxiety or any other, whatever symptom, whatever illness, like it's not yours. It's an experience that you may be having, but I see a lot of that on social media. Don't do that.
Yes. And it's breaking free of those. It's almost a generational curse, and you have to break it. And I feel like a lot of that ties in. And like you mentioned before, finding your inner child again, it really helps. I mean, I have a picture of little me on my bathroom mirror, and anytime I want to be mean to myself, I like look at her and I'm like, no, you're not going to be mean to yourself today. And as like,
Yeah,
it might
'cause that's who you're being mean to.
and it's not, and it sounds corny, but it really does help. And
No,
people
it's
laugh at me for it, but those are like some of the takeaways from, because I read a lot of self-help books, and I've been on the therapy journey. I did neurofeedback therapy. I've done anything you can think of. I've done Reiki and all of the things.
Yeah, me
And
too.
I think the thing that connects them all is, and the positive thing that connects them all is going back to your shadow work and inner child, and being kind to yourself.
Yeah, yeah, I love that. The photo is so powerful. That's such a great idea. And it is, yeah, it's like you're being mean to that little girl. Like she's still in there.
She is.
We don't think of ourselves that way, that we're the same person as we were when we were children, that it's like the same body.
Even our family members. I have when my mom calls, because I feel like sometimes it's so easy to forget, I have a picture of my mom as when she was little, as the picture that comes up when she calls. So if I want, and if I want to get mad, I think about like, if we're in a disagreement about something, I'm like, I'm being mean to my like little mom, and like, and I think that that's so powerful too. Like thinking about people, like your parents as human rather than, and I think that this has come with me becoming a parent, is I think of my parents now not only as my and it's removing like that my stigma. They're my mom, my anxiety, my dad, you know what I mean? And instead of just thinking of them as like they're a person too, and they had dreams, and they had experiences that led them to who they are. And yeah, I don't know.
Absolutely love that. I'm in such agreement, and I have said that as well. I've written some things on it actually, that parents are people too, and yeah, it's not like it's not my mom or my dad, or even as a mother, you think like my child, but we're all
Thanks for
really our
listening to
own
Storytelling with
like
Stephanie.
soul and being.
If you liked
We're
today's
children
episode, be
of
sure to
God,
follow,
in
leave a
my
quick review,
opinion.
and
Like
share it
we're
with a
not,
friend. I'll be back next
so
week with
tied
more
to each
stories.
other. We're
Until
just
then,
all
keep living your
human.
truth and rewriting your own
And
story.
yeah, parents are people too. This is their first time, as humans on Earth, and I like to believe that everybody's just doing their best. I think I had a really big realization this year, getting to the same age that my mom was when she had me, and it's like thinking back to what her life was like at that time and everything that she was going through, and just the way that I feel now at 33. You think that your 30s are going to come with like the handbook to life and all the wisdom, and then you get to that age and you're like, I still feel 17, or like I don't know anything, like. And so just showing your parents grace in that way.
Absolutely. Yes.
Yeah.
I feel that way too as I'm approaching my 30s. I was like, oh, like I have this idea for 20s, like your 20s, and that it was supposed to look a certain way. And I think I had that idea for so many like instances and avenues in my life, that it's supposed to look this way, and it's going to, be so amazing. And you get there, and then when it's not, you feel a sense of disappointment, and then you feel the sense of what it should have been. But really, you're just on the journey yourself, and you have to really be okay with where things take you, and give yourself grace.
Yeah. I'm always so much more inspired by like the late bloomers in life, and the people that started their company at 40 or wrote their first book at 50. So
Yeah, I look at all those posts. There are so many like actresses who didn't get their first part until like 40, didn't write their first best-selling novel until like 50, and I'm so inspired by that. And it does tie into astrology. Oh gosh, the listeners are going to be like, oh my God, this girl with astrology. But it does tie into astrology. Like it depends on your placements, because certain people are just naturally late bloomers, and some people bloom early, and it's just like the luck of the draw at that point.
yeah. Well, I'm so excited to learn more about my birth chart. And
Yeah, you have
see
to
where
message. You have to like message me as soon as you're
I'm
done.
gonna give you a update. Don't worry. Hopefully, I front loaded all my trauma, and now it's just gonna be only up from here. Is what I'm hoping for.
I have no doubts. And my last question is, if your life was a book, what chapter would we name this?
Oh my gosh.
Or what would we name this chapter? Yeah, I think I phrased that wrong.
Great question. This is a beautiful question. I mean, I could sit and think about this all day, but initially, I'm in a season of really just returning to self. I just feel like the return would kind of be like vague and intriguing. But like the return to self is just like where I am right now.
I love that. Thank you so much, Karli. You've been amazing. Come
Thank
back
you.
anytime.
Oh,
Where,
absolutely, I will.
where can the listeners find you?
Yes, so everyone can find me on Instagram. It's my full name, Karli Karandos. You can also find me on Substack and my website, karlikarandos.com.
Excellent branding. Thank you, Karli.
So, thanks so much.
Thanks for listening to Storytelling with Stephanie. If you liked today's episode, be sure to follow, leave a quick review, and share it with a friend. I'll be back next week with more stories. Until then, keep living your truth and rewriting your own story.